This year I made just over $3 million, and while you might be wondering why does that matter to you, it was about 10x what I made in the previous year, and I only made 3 subtle changes to my business. So what I want to do today is dive into those subtle changes that you can also make in your business in order to see massive results in terms of the amount of money you're making for doing the same thing that you're already doing. The second thing was the biggest one, and we're going to spend a bit more time on that. But what I want to do is show you how going into the new year and going forward that you're able to make these very small changes to your business that will yield astronomical results. What's up, guys? My name is Mike Sherrard. Thank you so much for tuning in to my channel as always, and if you're new, welcome. If you do get any value from this, all that I ask is a little thumbs up and that you subscribe so you don't miss another video. So this is going to be a really interesting topic that I'm excited about because it really did change my life. In the last 12 months, my income 10x, again, from around $300,000 a year to just over $3 million this year. And I want to talk to you about the 3 things that I did that yielded that drastic difference without doing much differently in terms of the way of extra effort or time that I put into my business. So the first thing that I did is related to focus. And we're going to unpack this a bit because, a lot of people that have been following my channel know that I live by the quote, "The man who chases 2 rabbits catches none." And one of the biggest things that entrepreneurs fall victim to is that they're always chasing the shiny penny. They've got all these incredible ideas. There's all these things that they know that they could crush, and they go after them. And the problem is that even though you could make money doing certain things, one of the biggest downfalls is that is taking time away from the thing that you should be doing and focusing your time in. And what I realized is that when I had singular focus, I was able to channel all of my effort into very specific things and yield astronomical results. And that was one of the big things that I really struggled with previously, was trying to do a lot and I was being very mediocre at a few things instead of being excellent at a couple of things. Now, what I wanted to say here is talking about partnerships, because I'm not great at everything. I know what I'm good at. I'm good at content marketing, branding, things like that. But I know that there's also a lot of voids that I have, and there's certain things that I just don't have the experience with. So one of the things that really helped scaling my income in 2021 was actually partnering with people that fill in the weaknesses of what I have and finding people where my strengths complement their weaknesses. And by creating these strategic partnerships, I don't have to go learn these skills or develop these skills that I'm not that good at. I can just continue to not be that good at them, partner with people that are really good at them, and then I can stay in my lane, they stay in theirs. We don't overstep each other's boundaries, but we work very harmoniously together. And that was a big thing coming into the new year. Now, another thing in terms of focus was actually looking at productivity in terms of a 12-week year and my daily power lists. And what these are is, for example, one of the biggest things that people struggle with is that they operate usually in an 11 out of 12 month year. And what I mean by that is most people are winding down in December. They basically take the whole month off because they're just mentally checked out, getting ready for the new year, and they get nothing done. And so basically they're operating on 11 months. And when you look at it, they set out these big, hairy, audacious goals in January that they want to smash, but a year is so far out that it's very difficult to manage. So what I started doing is operating on a 12-week year. So every quarter is almost like a new year. Coming into every new quarter with that same fire and energy that you come into January with, but instead of waiting for the next year, you can get started now. And in order to make each day productive, I do the power list. And what the power list is my 5 income producing activities that I need to get done every day. And these are the things that move the needle, move the business forward, and not the things that you want to do, but the things that you need to do. And by making sure that every single day I'm getting 5 income producing activities done, then my business was constantly growing instead of trying to be too scattered all over the place and just working on what I thought needed to be worked on and avoiding the things that needed to be worked on. Now, one of the biggest things that really made a big difference in my business was leverage. And when you look at what I did in the previous years, I was at a traditional real estate brokerage. If you don't know, I'm a licensed real estate agent. And one of the problems was that you had no leverage. You had no ability to create wealth, right? If you look at the wealth quadrant, for example, you have equity ownership, duplication, multiple streams of income, or passive or residual income. And at a traditional brokerage, you have none because you have one income stream that requires your time invested in creating it. So I wanted to create wealth, but I had no leverage because, for example, one of the biggest downfalls at a traditional brokerage was that I started seeing that I was not getting compensated as much as humanly possible for what I was doing, and I had no scale. There was no leverage to be created because I had one income stream that required my time invested in creating it. Whenever I invested that time, I would sell one property and I would get commission. That's it, that's all. But the problem is that based on building a successful real estate business, becoming a top producer for a couple of years, and having a strong personal brand, other agents were reaching out to me. So I wasn't able to partner with them unless I wanted to trade more time for money, which again was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to create wealth, which was to create timeless income. Now, another problem was, again, being geographically restricted. A lot of people get into real estate like I did, thinking that there's unlimited potential, but there's not, because at a traditional brokerage, you were geographically restricted to making income in one specific market center. So your income is capped, and you're not going to be able to make above a certain amount, which is why you see agents in specific markets never break a certain threshold. So what I did is, instead of going to a traditional brokerage, I moved to eXp Realty. And this is where my income drastically increased. And I want to explain a very simple concept to you that most people don't know. If you can do something extraordinarily well in one market, you can make 7 figures. If you can do something extraordinarily well in multiple markets, in terms of cross province, cross state, cross country, you can make 8 figures. If you can do something extremely well on a global level, you can make 9 to 10 figures. And this is something a mentor of mine told me. So when you start looking at people, and again, just to give you some validation, my mentors are making 9 to 10 figures, 9 figures at least. So when you start looking at this, I realized that I wanted to take my business in a way that would allow me to create leverage. And the only way to do that was to grow with a brokerage that allowed you to do that, which is a cloud-based brokerage that is not geographically restricted. So now here's where things got really exciting, is whenever I would sell a property, I would get commission and stock. And whenever an agent would reach out to me, I would get residual income, which goes back to the passive residual income up here that we're talking about. And by doing this, I added about 600 agents to my group in the last 12 months. And by doing this, it allowed me to create leverage on a global scale that again allowed me to increase my income for doing the exact same thing I would have been doing elsewhere. So the leverage was a massive game changer by joining a brokerage that actually allows you to create wealth, which most traditional ones don't, because again, you have one income stream that requires your time invested in creating it, which is selling homes and getting commission. And if you don't trade your time for money, you have no money. So you can't actually create lifestyle in most brokerages. But by going with a brokerage that allowed me to create leverage, this was one of the biggest game changers to my business, because it allowed me to operate at scale and again, leverage time as well as money. Now, the last thing was working smart versus hard. Let me break this down for you. What I started doing is realizing that in 2020, I was doing a lot of repetitive tasks. And the problem with that is that it's very inefficient. And I wanted to find ways to create efficiencies, because when you create leverage and you create efficiencies, it allows your business to scale. So what I started doing is looking at a couple different things. If I was doing repetitive tasks, how could I, one, template it, or create an SOP, standard operating procedure, that somebody else could follow, which would lead into number 2, is looking at VAs and hiring virtual assistants that allow me to get my time back. Because one of the big problems is that a lot of people are doing activities that are not up to the par that they're trying to make in terms of income. Is they're doing $5 an hour activities that a VA could do, or a virtual assistant, that they are doing it, they want to make 7 figures. It's just simply not going to happen. And that goes to the last thing, which is outsourcing. So what I did in 2020 that really made a big difference is said, okay, I understand how to run ads. I'm not going to run my own ads. I understand how to edit videos and do graphic design. I'm not going to do any of that. I understand how to do all these things. And I think that's a principle that I've tried to live by, which is knowing enough to be dangerous. And what I mean by that is, like, in terms of funnels and stuff like that, is I know how to do all these tasks. I've done them in the past for hours. But once you get to a certain point, you need to work smart versus hard and find other people to do this, give it to them, let them focus on their zone of genius, and you focus on yours. Because especially as a real estate agent, your time is best spent attracting clients, generating leads, closing leads, nurturing your database, right? Everything related to basically client acquisition is the only thing a realtor should be focusing on. And when you look at all the other activities that you get distracted with, designing thumbnails on Canva, or editing your YouTube videos, or writing copy, writing home buyers guides, sellers guides, all of that can be outsourced. And while it might be difficult in the beginning to outsource it because you're spending money, if you, so long as you invest that time back into what you're best at, your income is inevitably going to go up. And that's what happened in the last year, is it allowed me to, again, focus on what I'm good at and allow other people to do their thing. And that gave me more time to either A, enjoy with my friends, family, passions, and hobbies, or B, invest it back into my business using the activities that I'm strong at. So these are the biggest game changers in my business, especially this one right here, because ultimately by creating leverage, this was what was the biggest game changer, just allowing my business to scale on a global level. I still don't understand why some agents aren't really looking at this, because I'm living proof that it can change your life, because it really is, again, about getting compensated more for doing the same thing you would do anywhere else. Instead of getting one stream of income, you're getting multiple every single time you do the same activity you would elsewhere. So leverage was the biggest game changer. Hopefully you found this video valuable, and if you did, please just make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. So thanks so much for tuning in as always, and we will see you next time.